Hello, today we'll be covering naming polynomials. Naming polynomials is a simple way we can identify the amount of terms and the highest degree in a simple equation. Let's get into some examples. So the first example we have is 2p4 plus p1. So as you can see by looking at the expression, that there's two terms. And so the number of terms would be 2. And two terms, the name of two terms in an equation would be binomial. But now we look at the degree. The highest degree is 4. So the degree would be 4. And the fourth degree is called quadratic. Next example. 2x to the power of 2. Obviously, we can see that there's only one term in this expression. So the number of terms would be 1. And one term is called a monomial. And now we look at the degree. The degree is 2. The highest degree is 2. So based on that, 2 second degree is also called quadratic. Before we continue to the next example, we must now look at what is a term and what is a degree. A term is basically the amount of numbers inside an expression. So there's only one number in this term, as we can see it's only 6n. There's only one in this one because it's 2x to the power of 2. There's only one term. So now that we got that out of the way, let's look at what is a degree. A degree is basically the highest exponent number. And if there's no if there's no exponent written, it's always equal to the power of 1. It's everything to the power of 1. So the degree is the highest exponent. And what does a quadratic mean? A quadratic is a quadratic function, which is the even number. So any degree that's an even number is a quadratic. Now let's dive into the next example. The next example is 6n. 6n, as we can obviously see, is only one term. So it's only one. And since now we know from this equation, one term is a monomial. Let's look at the degree. There's no degree, so as I said, if there's no degree, it always equals to 1. And one degree is called a linear degree. Linear. Let's get into the next example. Minus negative 2x. Obviously, one term only, so monomial. Okay, let's look at the degree. Since there's an x, it's only equal to the first power. So it's degree 1, and 1 degree is linear. Let's look at the next example. This example is a bit more complicated than the rest. 9v to the power of 7 plus 7v to the power of 6 plus 4 to the power of 4r to the power of 3 plus 1. So adding up all those terms, we get 4 terms. So 4 terms is a polynomial. That's what they call it. Before we continue, a polynomial is 4 or more terms, a monomial is 1 term, a binomial is 2 terms, and a trinomial that we still haven't gotten into yet is 3 terms. So now that we use that, we can understand what the names are more fluently. Okay, so as we can see, the highest degree in this equation is 7. So 7 doesn't have a real name, it's just called 7th degree. Let's get into the next example. The next example is negative 5n to the power of 4 plus 10n minus 10. So as you can see in this equation, there are 3 terms. So as I said before, 3 terms is a trinomial. Now let's look at the degree. The highest degree here is 4. So 4, as we obviously know, is a quadratic. Let's get into the next example. The next example is 5a to the power of 2 minus 6a. So the number of terms in this, as you can see, is 1, 2. So there's 2 terms. And as we said on top, 2 terms is a binomial. Okay, let's look into the degrees. The highest degree here is 2. So using 2, we can see that 2 is a quadratic, because anything to the even function of 2 and 4 is a quadratic degree. Let's get into the next example. 5. So obviously one term monomial. But let's get into the degree, which is going to be a little more complicated. So as you can see here, it's only 5 with no letter or no term next to it. So since it's only a number alone, this is 0 degree. The degree is 0. So a 0 degree, we would call it a constant. So anything that has a degree of 0 is a constant. Our next problem is x to the power of 7. X to the power of 7, obviously, as we can see, is one term and one term alone. So number of terms is 1. And as we kept repeating, one term is a monomial. Okay, let's look at the degree now. The degree is 7. So as we said up top, anything that is not a quadratic function, that's not even number, is just 7th degree. So 7 equals 7th degree. Okay, the next problem is 5 to the power of 2x. 5 to the power of 2x is, as we can see, is only one term. So one monomial, as we kept repeating, one term is a monomial. Degree is 2, so as you can see, is a quadratic function, equals quadratic. Let's look at the last two problems. This problem is pi. So pi is obviously just one term, and so one term is a monomial. And obviously pi has no degree, so it's 0, which is 0, as we said up top. 0 degree is a constant. Let's look into the last problem. Negative 5n to the power of 4 plus 10n minus 10. This problem only has 3 terms, which 3 terms, as we said, 3 terms equals trinomial. Let's look at the degree. The highest degree here is 4. And as we see, 4 is a quadratic function, so 4 equals quadratic.